Hundreds of millions of people eat this tree every single day. In India, they stir the leaves into lentil broth. In the Philippines, they cook it into chicken soup. In Nigeria, they crush the seeds and drop them into river water to make it safe to drink. But walk into any grocery store in America, any garden center, any seed catalog, and this tree does not exist. Not because it does not work, because it works too well, and it does not fit inside a shipping container. One tree, complete protein, 7 times the vitamin C of an orange, and it can help purify drinking water. But the part about the water, the part that made scientists question everything they thought they knew about this tree, that comes later. This is the story of a tree that fed 3 continents for 5,000 years, until an empire decided it was worth more forgotten than remembered. The archive opens at the foot of the Himalayas, 2,000 years before the Common Era. The monsoon rains have just ended. Light filters through a canopy so thick it turns the air green. Below the oldest trees, in a clearing where the soil smells like iron and rain, a healer kneels beside a stone mortar. The leaves she grinds are small, oval, almost weightless. But the paste they make will be used for fever, for infection, for wounds that will not close. In Sanskrit, they called it shigru, the tree that purifies. Ayurvedic healers documented its use for over 300 conditions. 300. Not a supplement. Not a single remedy. A pharmacy that grows from the ground. The tree moved west. Traders carried its seeds along routes that predated the Silk Road. When it reached Egypt, the pharaohs pressed its oil into vessels and sealed them in tombs. They called it Ben oil. It never went rancid. 5,000 years later, archaeologists opened those vessels. The oil still worked. The Romans traded it as Lium Ben across the Mediterranean. Soldiers used it for wounds. Centuries later, European clockmakers discovered the oil was so stable it could lubricate the gears of precision instruments without degrading. A tree that healed soldiers and kept time. For millennia, every civilization that found this tree made it sacred. Then one civilization decided otherwise. But before the fall, there is one chapter that changes everything. In the villages along the Nile, in the river settlements of Nigeria, communities had a problem that killed more people than any war: dirty water. And they solved it with a tree. They took the mature seeds of the moringa, dried them, crushed them into powder, and stirred that powder into buckets of brown, bacteria-laden river water. Within an hour, the water was clear, not filtered, not boiled, cleared. By the tree itself, in the Philippines, they never needed a reason to remember. The tree they call malunggay grows in every backyard. It goes into every pot of tinola, a chicken broth so simple and so essential it has been cooked the same way for generations. Ask anyone in Manila if they have heard of Moringa. They will laugh. They ate it for lunch. The fall did not happen with a decree. No one passed a law against the Moringa tree. It happened the way most erasures happen. Slowly, and with paperwork, when the British Empire restructured Indian agriculture in the 18th century, they replaced diverse food forests with monoculture cash crops: tea, cotton, indigo, opium. If a plant could not be exported, taxed, or traded on a global commodity exchange, it was not worth planting. Moringa could not be exported. Its leaves wilted within hours of harvest. So the empire did not ban the tree. It simply stopped seeing it. And when an empire stops seeing something, the world follows. After the Second World War, the Green Revolution doubled down. Global agricultural funding poured into three crops: wheat, rice, corn. Everything else, hundreds of indigenous food plants, became what scientists now politely call orphan crops. Moringa was orphaned. Not because it failed, because nobody filed the paperwork. And then there is the final insult: modern food logistics. We built a global food system that prioritizes a tomato that can survive a 3,000-mile truck ride without bruising, over a tree that can keep a village alive. Moringa leaves wilt within hours of harvest. They cannot be sealed in plastic, loaded on a refrigerated truck in California, and sold in New York a week later. So they were never sold at all. Every civilization that found this tree revered it. Only one forgot it. And the tree did not care, because it was built for something no empire could undo: the Sahel, sub-Saharan Africa. Rainfall below 400 millimeters a year, temperatures above 40 degrees Celsius. The soil cracks open like broken pottery. Almost nothing survives here. Almost nothing. Moringa sends a taproot straight down, a biological anchor reaching water tables that no vegetable crop on Earth can access. Its leaf cells are engineered to minimize water loss while maximizing photosynthesis, even in direct sun. Botanists classify it as a pioneer species. That means it is designed to be the first living thing to grow in environments that have been ruined. Here is the part that sounds wrong until you understand it. The worse the conditions get, the harder Moringa pushes out leaves. Heat, drought, cracked soil. These are not obstacles for this tree. They are instructions. Moringa does not survive the desert. It was designed for it. From a single seed, Moringa grows 15 feet in one summer. Most trees take a decade to reach that height. Moringa does it in one season, because in the environments it evolved for, you do not get a second chance. Modern science finally measured what the Ayurvedic healers had known for millennia. Gram for gram, Moringa leaves contain 7 times the vitamin C of oranges, 4 times the calcium you get from milk, 4 times the vitamin A of carrots, and 3 times the potassium of a banana. And it is one of the only plants on Earth that contains all 9 essential amino acids. A complete protein, not a supplement, not a powder in a jar, a leaf you pick from a tree. But the data point that made researchers stop and reread their own results was not about food. It was about water. When a moringa tree matures, it produces long, ribbed pods. Inside those pods are seeds. If you take mature, dried moringa seeds, crush them into powder, and stir that powder into a bucket of dirty, bacteria-laden water, something happens that should not be possible. The seed powder contains natural proteins that act like a magnet for everything you do not want in your water. The dirt, the algae, the bacteria. These proteins grab hold of all of it, pull it together into heavy clumps, and drag it to the bottom. Within 1 hour, murky brown water becomes clear. Independent lab studies found that crushed moringa seeds can remove up to 99% of bacteria in untreated water. One tree, it feeds you, it survives drought, and it cleans your drinking water. The Lancet published the data in 2010. The people of Sudan had been doing it for centuries. The World Health Organization now recommends moringa for combating malnutrition in developing nations. Not as a future solution, as a current one. The tree is already there. It has always been there. The supplement industry noticed. They dry the leaves, grind them into powder, seal them in a bag with a clean label, and sell them for $30. A packet of moringa seeds costs $3. One packet grows a tree that produces leaves for years. You do the math. And the oil the Egyptians sealed in those tombs? Clockmakers in the 1800s discovered it was so chemically stable it could lubricate the gears of precision timepieces without ever breaking down. 5,000 years after the pharaohs sealed it in darkness, the oil still worked. Now you know what this tree can do. Here is how you grow it. If you are watching this from a cold climate, Zone 5, 6, 7, you are already thinking this tree is not for you. It is. You do not grow it as a tree. You grow it as an annual. Moringa grows so fast that you can treat it exactly like a tomato. Start the seeds indoors 6 weeks before your last frost. Soak them for 24 hours. Plant them in deep pots. The taproot needs room. When the soil warms, transplant them into the hottest, driest, most unforgiving spot in your yard. The place where your lettuce goes to die. That is exactly where Moringa wants to be. If you are in zones 9 through 11, Southern Florida, the Gulf Coast, Southern California, Hawaii, Moringa lives in your landscape as a true perennial. Plant it. Step back. Let it do what it was designed to do. When the tree reaches 4 feet, cut the main trunk in half. I know, it feels wrong. But Moringa thrives on aggressive pruning. The cut forces lateral branches. The tree becomes a bush instead of a pole. It produces exponentially more leaves and keeps them at harvest height. Now, preservation. This is the single most counterintuitive part of the entire process. Do not dry Moringa in the sun. Ultraviolet light strips the vitamin A and degrades the beta-carotene within hours. The leaves will turn a pale, washed-out yellow. You have lost the nutrition. Instead, hang the branches in a dark, warm, well-ventilated room, a garage, a dry basement. Within a few days, the leaves crisp up but remain a vibrant, dark emerald green. Strip them from the stems. Crush them into powder. That powder is shelf-stable for months. 1 spoonful in your winter soup. And you are eating summer. A note on safety. Do not eat the roots. They contain compounds that can affect the nervous system. In large amounts, the leaves can act as a laxative. Start with small quantities if this is your first time. And if you have allergies to plants in the Moringaceae family, test carefully. This is not medical advice. If you have specific health concerns, talk to a professional. And if you want to eat it the way 1 billion people already do, add the drumstick pods to SAHM bar, the South Indian lentil broth. Stir the leaves into tinola, the Filipino chicken soup. Blend the powder into smoothies or steep it as tea. 5,000 years of recipes. Take your pick. I want to know, have you ever grown this tree? Or is this the first time you are hearing about it? Tell me in the comments. We have entire industries dedicated to chemical water purification. We spend billions keeping weak crops alive with synthetic fertilizers and pesticides. And right here, sitting in the historical record, in the kitchens of 1 billion people, in the backyards of every village from Tamil Nadu to Manila, is a biological system that does the heavy lifting for free. If a tree this powerful could be written out of the Western world for 200 years, erased not by malice, but by indifference, by logistics, by the quiet machinery of a food system that rewards shelf life over human life, then what else have we forgotten? What other ancient knowledge is sitting in someone's backyard, waiting to be remembered? The people of India never forgot. The Philippines never forgot. The women grinding moringa leaves along the banks of the Niger never forgot. The only people who forgot were the ones who built the shipping containers. The archive does not close. It waits. If knowledge like this should not be lost again, you know what to do. Tonight, order 1 packet of Moringa seeds, $3. Plant it in the worst spot in your yard, and let a 5,000-year-old tree show you what it can do. If you want to know what else the archive is hiding, that story is right here, or he is right.